There's your music.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick. Where would you like to stand, Thomas? Here. Yeah, thank you very much. Excellent first speaker, I thought. So what we're going to do is give you some of the skinny on IBM Storage Defender. Just a quick show of hands, who actually knows what Storage Defender is or even heard the term? Okay, if you haven't. Anyone actually heard the term IBM? All right, good, good. So we know roughly what's going on. So to understand the conceptual thinking around IBM Storage Defender, that you need to understand the difference and the importance of balancing cybersecurity on the one hand with cyber resilience on the other. Most organizations prioritize prevention and detection, cybersecurity, over response and recovery, cyber resilience. That is akin to a financial advisor coming to you and suggesting that you should put all your wealth in a single asset class. Let's hope it's not Bitcoin. That would be a mono strategy and not advisable. Rather, our advice is that you build a barbell strategy whereby we put equal weighting across both cybersecurity and cyber resilience. Now, for many of you in the room, you say to me, but Al, I already have a perfectly good backup and recovery solution. I already have a strategy. Well, that's fine, that's true, but consider when that was first conceived and implemented. If it was when the traditional planning was around catastrophic events, fire, flood, earthquake, or God forbid, a plane landing on your data center, consider that a plane landing on your data center, depending on where you live, Heathrow might be a little bit different, is about the same probability as you've been personally struck by lightning. Now, unless you've already bought our keynote speaker, Ollie Ollerton's book, How to Survive Almost Anything, and you're now a fully paid up member of Preppers International, that isn't the odds that's going to keep you lying awake at night worrying. Agreed? However, if you're a healthcare provider operating in 2021 in the United States of America, Martha, your odds of being struck by a cybercrime is 1 in 42. That is not a black swan event. That is a completely different order of magnitude. Now, you could say, I'm going to double down on cybersecurity. Go all in on cybersecurity, that prevention and detection. But before you do that, consider these statistics from one of the largest reinsurance companies in the world, Swiss Re. They are predicting that the cyber insurance premium market will practically double to 23 billion by 2025. Now, to put that number in perspective, 23 billion, that's considerably bigger than the backup recovery market. Now, I was always told, and I've, as a salesman over the last 25 years, you need an insurance policy. That's your backup policy. So now we're in a situation where we need an insurance policy for our insurance policy. Something's gone a little bit wrong. So security. Putting all that investment in security hasn't stopped that exponential rise in cyber insurance premiums, nor has it stopped the velocity of cyber attacks increasing from, I think, 1 every 40 seconds in 2016 to 1 every 11 seconds by 2021, and forecasted with the help of tech-generated, AI-generated hacks to speed up to 1 every 2 seconds by 2030. So hopefully my job of selling you that you need to create that barbell strategy of equal weighting of cybersecurity and cyber resilience, if that job is done and you are convinced, Thomas and I are now going to go through the cyber resilience gap, because we need to get you from where you are now to where you'd like to be, that cyber resilient organization. And this is important because the thinking behind IBM Storage Defender, there's no point just throwing more tech at a technology problem. it comes down to these three main categories, like all things in IT, because technology has a way of eating itself. People, process, technology. Let's start with people, but before we do that, I hope you all have, and this is for the people listening online as well, you have some form of scanning device for a QR code. We've got a few little polls to create a little bit of audience participation. So get your phones out, get ready to take a photograph. Yeah. This next question, I believe is, and Thomas, you'd be interested in this, the question is going to be, who is responsible for detecting malware within their storage systems, be it primary storage or backup? What do you think, Thomas?
I just need to comment that scanning QR codes is an attack vector. So if you find one on your table, you probably, if you do that, what you are right now, you can trust here. That's no problem. But
it's safe here. We're in
it
safe
will
space.
likely guide you to something where you don't want to be.
It'll take a little while for the people to get the numbers coming through. There's a bit of a lag, I believe, between the live and virtual. So what do you think? What would you say? Whose responsibility should it be within any business, technology department? Which department would you think should be responsible for ensuring that storage is clean and safe and healthy?
So if it comes to the storage, it's clear the infrastructure people need to be responsible for that, but it's coming up to the whole business. So the data on storage is probably the foundation for good business, and therefore it's going up to the leaders of the organization that need to be responsible for doing the right things. Let's see.
Let's have a look. Numbers still coming through.
Security team, not so much.
Okay. I'm not sure what that means, but interesting that obviously the majority was both, then infrastructure, then security, and then something else. So anyway, let's get back to these barriers. People. As I think was evidenced by Jeff White's pitch, the weak link in security and cyber resilience is clearly people, right? But within our own organizations, if we're trying to create a defensive layer against that, then one of the barriers that we see and for which Storage Defender has thought through, or IBM in designing Storage Defender has thought through, is how do we create that cohesion? How do we ensure communication is uppermost in everyone's mind and feasible across our different silos within a large enterprise organization? I'm thinking like networking teams, storage teams, cybersecurity teams. What we need to ensure is that they form a single defensive line with no doglegs. You know, is anyone watching the Rugby World Cup? Those defensive lines, they are ramrod straight. As soon as you create a little dogleg, that's where the attackers can get through. And it's the same if you don't have that cohesive, uniform communication across all the different departments within IT. Not only that, not only is the communication not there, but they're measured in different ways. So if you think about cybersecurity, they are gold mainly on things like zero trust and metrics related to that, mean time to detection, or principles of least privileged access. Whereas for those storage people in the room, what are you mainly gold on? Latency, speed, 5 or 6 nines availability. It's almost polling in opposite direction to your colleagues in the security department. So how do we ensure that we help that collaboration, that communication between the security department and the storage and infrastructure teams, and that they're gold in the same way? Finally, on people is the skills and resources gap. Now, when I worked at IBM, which was 20 years ago in sales, the rule of thumb in terms of how much one person could manage in terms of number of gigabytes, terabytes, or petabytes of storage will shock you. I can't believe it now. It was one person was needed to be employed to manage every 1 terabyte of data. I mean, that's crazy. If we look back now, we think, crikey, what were they doing for the other 7 hours of the day? But that's how it was. Nowadays, storage people have to do so much more. They are not just storage people, they're generalists, they're multidisciplined, multi-skilled. When was the last time you saw a job advert for a backup administrator? You just don't see them like you used to. So we have to overcome people. The second thing we have to do is we have to change the processes within our organization. But before we do that, I think we have another poll. No, we don't? Let's talk about processes. So how many of you in the audience do an annual DR test? Yeah, a few nods, a few hands raised. So the annual DR test was mainly thinking about those original disasters, those catastrophes. Maybe you're thinking about a power outage. Now the problem with thinking like that is a power outage is a relatively one-dimensional problem. It's a simple problem. Get a bigger generator, get a longer-lasting generator. However, we are now in a world where the problems are much more complex, multi-dimensional. According to Trend Micro, who will be speaking after the break, 4,000 new threats are coming in every day. And those threats are created by humans with social engineering. It's a completely different spectrum of complexity to just your power failing. And that's what we have to deal with. So we have to change those processes to adapt to the velocity and the complexity of the problems that are coming our way. Next poll. It should just come up automatically on your phones. You shouldn't have to scan again. So the question is, who should pay for the cost of doing recovery testing? As a salesperson, any salespeople in the room?
No.
Just a few. Getting budget for any cybersecurity or cyber resilience is often uppermost in our minds, is it not? So let's see what that is really interesting. So obviously the answers here are saying the budget should be spread across both departments. Only a small majority think that security need to pay all of the bill. That's the way I interpret that question. And then there are a quarter of the audience think that storage and infrastructure and I&O teams should pay all of the bill. Interesting. So I'm now going to hand over to Thomas, because he's the technology man. So he's going to talk about that final barrier of the three: people, process, and technology, to get us from where we are now to where we need to be. And then hopefully you're going to flip that to then explain how IBM Storage Defender, the product, addresses those points and why IBM has done what it's done with its vision for Storage Defender.
Thank you very much, Al. And when it comes to technology, I'm the right person. I'm a distinguished engineer in IBM, the CTO for server and storage for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So I'm very deep and involved into many technology questions. And first of all, when it comes to technology, technology is not bad. It's probably the thing that provides the value. In Geoff's examples, it's the thing that transfers the money, that authenticates the payment cards on the ATMs and so on. So there is always a lot of value in technology in regards to making our society run, our economy run, making companies successful. But it's also a complexity, it's a risk. The technology is not one single thing. It's a history of decisions from the past. In many large organizations, you have multiple stacks. Even VMware-based computing, which is around for a while, is considered to be legacy today. It's 20 years old. And you not only have VMware, you have maybe mainframes, you have other stacks, and all that is connected together. Nowadays, you have multiple clouds. So some processing on premises, very critical, hopefully, well controlled, well secured, but you also have the public clouds. And all that together is the challenge. So it's a good on the one side, but it's also the area where the hackers always have some holes identified where they get in, like we already saw from Geoff's examples. So it's not easy to get in, but if they are in, they will be very smart and figure out how they can leverage the technology to earn money or to destroy the business. That's the two things. And technology is also important to save your life in order to protect your business into the future. So it's technology actually that solves, but not alone. It's people, it's processes, it's technology together that's needed to protect your business, to make your business more resilient. So, and with that, talking about tech, there is a lot of legacy. So over 66% of businesses use mainframes. Probably that's not a real general statement. The majority of large companies still have mainframes on their premises. So for example, 90% of the top 100 banks in the world use mainframes for their central payment account statement systems, but for very, very good reasons, because these systems are securable in a much deeper way than other systems are. But it's not only these one systems, it's really the heterogeneity of the different elements in the whole application space, in the IT infrastructure, that provides the challenge. It's the separation of data sources, the data that is not only in one place. If there is a mainframe for the core business, the data is probably quite easy to manage because it's one chunk of big data. But in reality, that's only one system, and there are hundreds of other systems around that that also needs to be managed well, even in a very consistent way alongside with the mainframe. So, and we have lots of different stacks running there. So every enterprise, large one, has at least 4 stacks, not only on-premises, but also in the cloud. And that really makes the difference here, the challenge to secure all of that. We have another poll. It was difficult for me to hold back with that comment. But here it's all is safe. So where should malware detection take place? At the end point?
That point about the multiple backup products, the whole point of Storage Defender is that we're embracing that complexity, we're embracing that multi-vendor.
Exactly.
It's not going to change anytime soon. We're not going to put the genie back in the bottle, so to speak. So we have to take that into consideration when designing new technology that's going to solve that problem.
So all of the above, 95, 96% saying storage, endpoints, networking, and backup are together important to, say, detect the malware. And that's a very good point, and it's true. We can use the backup to see what's already there for forensics or for analytics to see which copy is good and which is not good. And this is exactly what you are doing with your Predatar solutions. Super.
So I think one more slide.
Defender.
Defender.
Probably we should look into that. Where does Defender come from? There are already a lot of cyber resilience functionalities placed in certain different technologies from IBM, and there are also many cyber resilience functionalities placed in other products out there. And Defender came from the idea to extract all that and bring that into one set of functionalities to cover all kinds of applications and all kinds of data sources on the one side, and also to integrate all kind of storage infrastructure, backup tools, functionality that needs to come together to solve that complexity, to address the complexity issue. And we also need to include basic security functionality. So it could be also feasible to bring in a CM solution, a threat detection solution in any single product. But when we think about it, it's better to have a set of functionalities that integrates with threat detection and build that into that Defender line. So a CM and SOAR tool is part of that Defender philosophy and integrates that functionality already. Then we have the ability to address all these workloads from on-premises to cloud and address all kinds of backups in all the styles that are available in the best practices in the market. So it is here 3-2 to 1-to-1 immutable data protection scheme that is all well considered in the layered design of Defender. And last but not least, it's all about automation. So Defender automates many, many manual tasks to unleash the potential of the admins to then do the right things if they need to decide which kind of copy they need to recover. So this needs to be automated and prepared upfront, and Defender has the ability to integrate the automation into the overall ecosystem to combine data sources and applications with all kinds of storage products. Probably that's the philosophy behind Defender.
That's absolutely the thinking. Thank you very much, Thomas. That was fantastic. Any quick questions before we bring Rick back down and we have the break? Are you coming down to... Yeah. Any quick questions of Thomas? Super. Thank you very much.
Super.